All right. So we are about to tune in. Thank you guys for choosing and selecting to tune in to Social Spotlight, where you're in the right place and you are inspired to be empowered. And I am your host, Crystal Boyd. What a pleasure it is to be here today. Oh my gosh. I am so happy. I'm happy because one, I get to do this and I love what I do. And then two, we have an amazing topic up, which is Virtuous Woman. And who do we have here? We have author and educator, mother, like sister, daughter, and a whole lot of other titles that she really, really nails. Okay. I'll let her introduce herself, but that's all I can say, even though I can say more.
Thank you so much, Crystal. It's a pleasure to be here to have this opportunity. I thank you for this opportunity, and I most importantly thank God for allowing me to open my mouth up and share this gift that He put on the inside of me with the world, to be able to do this. I am an educator. I'm currently a dean at a college. But my title, most importantly, is I am a disciple of Christ. That's what I'm meant to do. And so wherever I'm needed, wherever I'm meant to serve, I really enjoy doing work for God, because it is the ultimate reward, and it comes in places like this. So I'm very, very, very thankful for this opportunity today.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm grateful that you're here. I really am. And so I'll introduce her. Her name is Gabrielle Blum. Am I
Blum, yes, yes.
all right? All right. I nailed that. I was like, okay, that's a little different, but I think the H is a little silent. All right. And you recently published your book, Enough is Enough. I love the title already. Can you tell us a little bit about the book as well as what was your inspiration in writing the book?
So it's enough to be enough, because I feel like at times when I was going through the transition to get to this level in my life, there was this whole thing with who I was. The journey to get here started a little bit ago in 2006, 2007, when I had relocated from Tennessee to Wisconsin. And I was in search of finishing school, and it was that whole rat race of finish school and then you become this and you buy a house, and then once you do that, then you're successful and you're happy, and then you open a business and then you're happy. It was this always chasing when I get to. And what happened with that is I didn't know who I was. After a while, I became the titles of whatever society had placed on me. So if I was in business, which I owned an insurance business for 10 years, I was an insurance agent. So I thought I was a public figure, and I had to be this and I had to do that and I had to dress like this and I had to go to this place and hang with these people. And it just became overwhelming, to the point that I slipped into a very dark piece in my life where I was drinking every day, did not know who I was. And I started to get into a point where I didn't know what I could be. So, long story short, fast forward, business, let the business go. I completely went into a dark depression and did not know exactly why I was alive, what I was alive for, and to the point where suicide looked really nice. It looked really nice. And this is kind of dark and gruesome, but this is the reality of identity. And when you attach yourself to people, places, and things that really truly are not what you're supposed to be doing. It's not the work that God has for you. It's something that you do to make an income to get by. And it sounds so elementary, but I fell into that. And so I decided to pick up the Bible and try to save myself and figure out what are God's promises for me.
Mhm.
And so I'm not gonna lie, there was times I was drinking and reading the Bible, and
I've had somebody be like, oh, I understand Proverbs.
sitting there reading that Bible, drinking,
But it
and
was moderation, Lord. I was. We was trying.
I tried to do it in moderation. That's when I was weaning off. And so after doing that over and over and over and over again, and kind of putting God's spirit back inside of me, it started to manifest in conversation. So I had closed my business, went on a sabbatical, and my husband noticed that I wasn't myself, which in turn, your topic today is a virtuous woman, right? And in order for a man to be who he needs to be, his woman needs to be who she needs to be. Okay. So I was breaking my husband down. I was breaking my baby down. And it got to a point where when I was praying and speaking over myself and doing all these things, it got to the point where God went straight to him and said, we have to move. We have to move. We can't stay here anymore. You don't know who you are. And he said, I don't know where we're going to move. When I get off work, I'm going to let you know. And then that's when he came home and he said, we're moving to Tampa. We're getting out of here. We started preparing for that. Everything that you can think of that went wrong, went wrong. We went through a series of losing homes, bankruptcy, lawsuits from the business closing and people's contracts going bad. It was just a complete dark period. But the only thing I had to hold on to was God's promises of my identity. And that promise was, yes, you are somebody. And yes, you can heal. And that was me listening to my husband, who's the head of this house. So when we moved, I started to heal even more, putting the alcohol down. Tequila was my vice. So I put that thing down. And I started to realize that I could do life without any substances. So I found a church and I started to hear them talk about identity, who you are in Christ. And who I was in Christ didn't resonate to who I was in the world. That was two completely different things. It was like, what? I'm strong, I'm beautiful, I'm not evil. What do you mean? I'm prosperous. What do you mean I'm a help me? I had no idea that these were God's promises for me and that I have hands and feet that can mold and make things and create things and that I am an incubator. And I had no idea any of that existed on the inside of me. But when I started to pull it out, I started to see my husband heal. He was able to get different jobs. He was able to rebound his income. We were able to look past all the darkness and girl, stuff started happening. And I realized identity was very closely related to addiction. Identity was the killer of my soul because who I am in the world was not who I was in Christ. So I thought to myself, that's enough. So I'm enough to be enough because I have everything on the inside of me. And that's where the book came from. And I started to study myself and my series of addictions. And I started to interview different people who were addicts. And I would hear the same story. It didn't matter whether it was alcohol, crack, weed, it didn't matter. It was sex, money, lust, all those things. The root of the issue was they did not know who they were in God. And so I started doing talks on it and it's definitely healed some people. And I'm just thankful that he made me go through that to get here.
I'm like, I'm actually so speechless, but speechless in a good way because you exude all of this amazing energy that is very, in a sense, godliness. You can tell a lot of virtue in what you're talking about. I mean, what you experienced in that character that God helped to come out more because it was already in you. And yeah, you are enough to be enough, through Christ. That is the case. And I can just go on and on about it. Like I'm trying to gather my thoughts because you just have such a powerful testimony of being an overcomer, an achiever, victorious. And then it's just something that happens when we get that Bible and it sheds so much light that we can't help but if we allow it, if we allow ourselves, we can't help but to go forth and let God finish his work and complete that. And that's amazing. Your book definitely is an interesting title. And I have ordered my copy, and just for the listeners, you guys have to order because I'm
Yeah.
already on edge. Like I know this is gonna be good and be something useful and beneficial. I mean, I just hear all the information that she's sharing with us as far as experience and everything. So I know that this book has to be an interesting read that can go well with us. What would you say? How can a woman rise up to have this attitude of enough to be enough? Like, what would you say to a woman or even anybody,
Anybody.
what attitude would they have to take on in being enough to be enough?
To be enough for yourself means to love exactly who you are and loving exactly the journey that you have been through and the journey that you intend to go on. Um, it means reaching back to pull forward. And a lot of times we're ashamed of our past. We don't see how it fits into our narrative. But really, many of those things, God uses those as building blocks because if we want to truly be enough, we have to be honest and we have to let go of the guilt and the shame that holds us back from God's promises. Because in the days where Jesus was walking and working with people, many of those people who God put things we read today from the Bible, those people were broken. And you, as a worldly person, would say, no, I will never use that person to do anything for me. But God said yes to those people because God loved relationship. And
Yeah.
so you have to have a relationship of love with yourself, and love is God, and God is love.
Mhm.
So if you want to be enough, you just have to do that work.
Mhm.
And I think that work can be complicated if you allow it, but if you just let go, sometimes there's beauty and just be like, you know what, I'm done. Look, I let go. God, you take the wheel. I'm out.
I've learned to like almost just like watch my life, but also be consciously involved, but not so much front seat action. Letting God steer this. You take the wheel wherever you're trying to lead us. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 6. Lean not on our own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge him and he'll make our path straight. So that's what I identify when I say that is just letting God take that lead. I may try to drive every once in a
I
while.
know.
We know who the best driver is, God. Like,
Yes.
for but those are definitely the way that attitude puts you in a position to be enough. I think that loving yourself and knowing God is love is also a contribution to making that happen. Like, cause I mean, I just think that just God is love, and that's how it gets you towards the light. So in essence, I'm definitely supportive of that attitude of how you become enough. So Proverbs 31 is well associated with virtuous woman. Everybody knows that. Was this an inspiration during your life at any time? And if so, why?
Yes. In fact, yes. Because a lot of time I love history. And
Yeah.
so because I break the Bible apart, during those times that I was healing, I would break the Bible down and want to understand, okay, where were the women during this time of the Proverbs 31 woman that we use today? What lifestyle did they live?
Yeah.
And a lot of them lived a life where men felt like they were nothing.
Mhm.
They were told they were evil because they had eaten the apple, and they had all these guilt, shame. You're nothing but a mother, and you just raise the kids and stay at the house, right?
Yeah.
And so when I read it, I was like, God didn't say none of that to them. I
Mhm.
mean, these women were preaching to their sons to raise up a different breed of man in this world, which worked. They
Mhm.
were teaching them how to treat a woman by showing them and talking to them about how strong they were, and they were working on their fitness, and they were working on the things that they could make and sell in the market, and they were working on um, all of these talents that they had at their hand, but they kept a culture of knowing that they were enough
Mhm.
because God told them. So they chased after God over their own husband
Mhm.
because they knew if they went to the Father, they would get exactly the reward, whether it came to their husband or themselves or their family. And a virtuous woman is strong in her mind where she doesn't have to flaunt it. She is enough to be enough because she knows who her daddy is.
Yeah,
So
it's
it
kind of
is.
too much out there. There's in social media world, I do think that is so important to emphasize virtuous women because I think we're getting truthfully away from admiring women of virtue when we see so much of the opposite really being glorified, you know? And you know, I believe that we should have we're enough to be conservative and everything else, you know, but goodness gracious, when I say I don't see a lot of virtue out there, I hope that it becomes more popular, but yeah, I just have to add that social media aspect in there because
It's a big deal. It's a
it
big
is.
deal, and it's too bad that it takes us to go through a dark period. Sometimes many of us go through that to find Christ and to find his promises. A lot of women I've met, some of them been fortunate. I'm like jealous, like, dang, you never went through nothing.
I've seen that too. We were like, not one day.
Not one, nothing.
The
Just
biggest challenge you got is picking out your nail polish.
that's odd.
But yeah, that's true. But I know for myself, and I'll just briefly short on this. Is when I realized about getting to God, I was at the bottom and I was tired of my decisions. I felt like every decision Crystal made was garbage, you know, up until this point. And that was probably about 26. I got sick of me real fast, real quick. You know what, Crystal, I'm sick of your stuff. You need to get some stuff together. And that's when I started reading for myself. You know, it took me those 2 years to get through the New Testament and everything. But it's something about when you're empty of yourself, God can fill you up. Oh my,
Yes,
oh my
yes.
gosh. And that was my beginning of my enough to be enough. And, you know, thank God eventually led into becoming a virtuous woman, you know, through
Wow.
that emptying out and being rid of myself and recognizing, hey, I'm nothing. Let me go to my father and learn more about me, get some direction, understand what real love is, and hopefully go forth and be great. You know, it's just breathtaking. I just
It is. It's refreshing.
it is, and you know, having that relationship with God, and you said something earlier. It's just like when you focus on God, it seemed like more things started happening in your home and even better for your husband because you were working on you. And I do believe that in order to have a successful marriage from outside looking in, but what I think would be a serious component is a woman's capability of being able to be a good helpmate. You know,
Yep,
some of that is being at your best and being able to hear from God, you know, because that's going to affect your ability to be there for your partner, your spouse, your husband, right?
that's true. That's true. And if I'm not a help to him, because that's all I was built for, was to be a helper,
Yeah.
right? Helper sounds so little. We make it seem like, oh, you're just, aw. No, no, we are the whole incubator.
Hmm.
God said we are the incubator of everything. We can reproduce anything we touch. As a woman, we gonna make it better. It ain't gonna be the same as when you got it. It was a shirt. When you get it back, it's a whole retail store.
We putting it up like we do add to, and I think that's a strength within itself. But I don't. I know this is a subject that many are not really comfortable with, and that's submission. But I think as a virtuous woman in a household and talking about marriage, submission is necessary, right? But
It,
but I think it sometimes has a negative connotation. You know,
mhm.
could you explain some things to the audience that would help them identify and help them become a virtuous woman and understanding being able to submit to your husband?
So submission in itself, it means to turn into, right? I mean, we submit things. So when you turn something in, it means you turn in your thought of what it should be down. You just turn it in. You turn it in and you let it go. And whatever happens with that, that's it. Some of our ideas of who our husbands should be subconsciously leak out, and we start to speak negatively to their ideas when they're the head. So if they're the head and we're supposed to help them, how are we going to help them if we tear them down? There is life and death in the power of our tongue. So if we as women know we can also incubate and grow things, we can also kill some stuff.
Yes, very much. Definitely kill some things if we're not careful.
If we're not careful. So to submit, for me, I have always had the way of asking questions of what is your goal? What is your dream? What is your intent of this item? What is your purpose in this job? Because then I get to understand how to reform in my mind what he might need to get there, and everything else that he's asking, a date night, whether it's sex, whether it's going to do something spontaneous, that is going to help our marriage become healthy. As long as it's healthy and within my guideline and my boundary, I'm okay with that, because all of our needs have been met. And so sometimes it's not, well, you just want me to do it. No, it's not that. It's me allowing him to have his playtime and me to know that my dreams are going to be met, because the goal is the same.
Yes.
And it's hard for people to understand that part of a man. A man never changes his nature. He's never built to think like us with all the details. You ask us one question and you get a sentence or a paragraph back.
Right now, like somebody's asked me one question before and I went all in the weeds. Like,
yeah, you got to be like, whoa,
my detail is crazy. Like,
that's us. Ask him one question is one word.
All right.
I don't know. Okay, sure. They don't have the detail for all of that that's going on in our head. We're like, okay, but what if this? What if that? They haven't even thought that far down the line yet. They have.
Because it's so true. Like, I mean, especially in the dating and the relationships, I can think back and be like, that's just one answer.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you have.
You probably really don't know, do you?
They really don't know. Like, they don't. And I'm not trying to dismiss men, but men have a purpose and they have goals and visions.
That's right.
And we are the details to those things.
Yeah.
You know, so if we can't put the details together, they're not gonna do it. They're like, okay, I'm gonna cook, but you don't want to see the kitchen after, you know, because it's gonna be a mess.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you shed light on that. I know at one time I had difficulty in understanding submission, and I was one of those. I'm like, I don't submit. But when I was attending a church, Breath of Life Christian Center, which I still attend sometimes, the pastor went over something that just resonated so good. And it was the fact that he said, the problem with most of the time submitting is understanding who you're submitting to. I have to pause. All right. So when the pastor mentioned, submitting to someone that is submitting to God and you trust their decisions, it makes it a whole lot easier to submit to. And ever since then, I really held a high value in dating and understanding a man's perspective of how he sees God, his relationship with him. And is this someone that I can listen to from an authoritative standpoint and not be offended? Because I think it's strength in being able to submit.
Yep.
Because, if I'm not mistaken, the Bible says, wives, submit yourself to your husband, of course. But I think that submitting is submitting in behavior too. Instead of trying to be combative, I think sometimes just leading an example wins someone over. And I don't know why I just connected that in a household, but if I just don't feel like it's going to be a woman of virtue is going to do that. We probably we may say what we're doing, but our lives can be an example of that, right?
Yes, all the way through.
Yeah. So men can be won over. I think it's by
They can.
example. Like, you know what, babe, I get it now.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so We definitely are interested in knowing more. I'm ready to know, and I'm sure the audience wants to know. What is the next big project for you? What do you see as a next goal? Where is Gabrielle Blom going? What's the next big thing?
So I have a couple of projects in line. My next book project is actually a book about my journey from my father being incarcerated. So he and I have come together and wrote a poetry book. While he's in prison, he and I have been sharing poems back and forth, and he's also done some voice work over the poems. So it's called A Father from a Distance, and that should be coming out hopefully in December. We'll have it finally edited and ready to release to talk to women who have fathers incarcerated, especially in the African American community. It's at an all-time high. I don't think many of us have ever had a solid foundation of what a family is to even understand submission. But I think having his relationship in my life has also helped strengthen me, which is a behind the scenes. People don't see it, and normally they're abandoned in prison. So I chose to have a relationship with him for the past 36 years. He's been in there my whole life, pretty much since I was born. And I want to help other women in that situation who could be on the cusp of maybe having a decent life by just connecting with their real dads. So that's the purpose of that book. So that's what's happening with me. All of my books will be available on GabrielleBlum.org. And you can find all of the books there. You can also follow me on Instagram at Gabe Speaks Up. Lots of funny stuff out there, a lot of family stuff. I love being real. So it's a lot of inspiration on just how to have a regular life.
Well, I love all of what you're doing. I can't be more proud of you for y'all that don't know. I do know Miss Gabrielle. It's just such a joy to just know that like people are just doing amazing things. I just feel comfortable in just knowing people and bringing people on this platform that I already know, and they've gone and soared into greater heights. That's a beautiful thing, and beautiful person, got an amazing story, and I'm just congrats on everything. I can't say that enough. You are winning. Thank you for being an inspiration. I definitely believe what you shared today is going to help empower women to be a virtuous woman because you definitely are yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Crystal.
You're welcome. You're welcome. For y'all that didn't catch it earlier, her website is, of course, it's www. It's Gabrielle, GabrielleBlom.org. Okay. And you can go there, check out her events, her about page, make sure you order the books. Or are you going to do a pre-order possibly with the one coming out in December?
Yes, that one will be a pre-order. That's the big gift inside of me. So yes, that one will be a pre-order.
Already, because I'm already inspired by it. Just knowing what's going on behind the scenes. You and your dad working together, which is just quite a just testimony within itself. So we thank you for your time. If there's anything else you'd like the audience to know, um, feel free to share that information.
All right. Well, thank you for having me again, and everybody be blessed and continue on your journey. You never know where it ends up. And I just thank God for this opportunity. So thank you again.
All right, that has been a conclusion to Focus Spotlight, where I sure hope you got the inspiration to be empowered. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, share, comment, because I think this episode and you women out there, hopefully something has been said that is inspirational for you as well. And if you're not a virtuous woman, at least it can be on your to-do list. At the top though, at the top, like to become that is worth it. So I hope you guys go forth into all that greatness today. And thank you guys for tuning in once again. Okay, now, bye bye then.